I was inspired by a conversation last night I had with a friend who I haven't seen in about 5 years to revisit some of the videos I'd made back in 2011 when I moved out of my office space in Mountain View, the cradle of manifestation. And I just today posted my first YouTube video in maybe 2 years or maybe a year where I'm talking. And it was really good to revisit that. I haven't looked at those videos of 2011 in quite some time. And in it I mentioned a book that I was wanting to write at the time called How to Lose. And I didn't say anything more about what that book would entail. And I guess that's morphed into the thing I keep talking about nowadays, which is to create something called a course in failure, fun, freedom, and other F words for straight A students, where I talk about the real experience of letting yourself do the thing you think you cannot do, or walk into the place that you've avoided your entire life maybe, and to learn the richness of that experience by doing it. And for so many of us achievers, that place is failure. Failure as we think it to be. Because it's not a real thing, it's a name for something that we've assigned to this amorphous blob of symbols of what we don't want to become and those other people over there. And, I've touched so many of those places now in myself that it's like, wow, where is the remaining cluster of things I'm not willing to experience? And how can I become more curious about that in terms of, is it true? Can I really not endure or experience that? And what part of me am I closing myself off to? That's my cat. As a result of that belief. So that I really address now, today being November 30th, 2014. The way I'm addressing that right now in my life is through creative practice, through visual art mainly, and the act of creating from materials, which are choices from what's available and what may not be available, but from what I desire, and arranging those into different forms or experiences for myself, and then sharing that experience in different forms for other people. And what I'm today very clear about in my work is that it is about this triad of experiences that came to me and still resonate very strongly as healing, transformation, and creativity. And they're really not different to me, and they have distinctions. They share this core that I've discovered to be consciousness. And what is the consciousness we bring to these processes of healing, transformation, and creativity? And to me, it's so much the same, this presence. And that's the only word that I've had to describe that place in each of us that is already healed, that is capable of infinite transformation, and has infinite creative potential. That's where we came from. That's our source. You can call it the universe, God, cosmos, all that is. But we have this place in our being that knows how to heal, knows how to transform, and knows how to create, because that's what we are. We are whole beings. We need to remember our wholeness, and we are constantly transforming beings, and we need to remember and recognize our transformational nature. And we are creative beings, and we simply need to be reminded of and guided back to the fact that we are creative as beings. And so in a way, my work is about pointing back to these truths, not injecting doses of healing, transformation, and creativity into people, but really opening a space where an experience can happen for that. And I have tools that have worked for myself and practices that have been shared with me by other teachers and are practiced by others. And I think that's where I'm being called to grow now, with this recent connection to 2 new communities where I'm going to be serving on the board with a lot of excitement and enthusiasm in 2015. And it's a group of healing practitioners, and it's a group of integral thinkers and actors in the world. So people who are at the creative edge, but at the intersection of healing, transformation, and creativity and consciousness. So this is where I'm being asked to form the bridges between my perspective, which is unique to me but not alone in the universe, and the great work of all of these amazing people who have stepped up into their true identities and found their real work in the world and are bringing it into being. And so to recognize I don't have to do it, whatever it is, all alone, that I'm not alone at all, and that I also don't have to join a flag-waving movement or brand or corporation to experience community. That there's actually a very, very strong community of connection amongst people who are awakening and doing their true creative essential self-work in the world. And I'm really excited about stepping into that, being in that environment and giving birth to my work in that environment. So healing, transformation, creativity, central processes that I facilitate and engage in my work. And what I've been living and what I know, because I've been a direct experiential kind of a learner, not necessarily a book researcher in the last 4 years. Now I'm beginning to read a little bit more and to see connections to other ideas that map onto my work, my personal work of the last 4 years. But my direct experience and my story of becoming an artist and discovering my capacity to make art is one of the most astonishing transformations in my life. And it's opened me up to a set of tools that I know were in me all the time and are in every person to some degree. And that I have tremendous curiosity, not certainty, but curiosity about bringing that set of experiences or tools or access points into worlds where it's been disavowed, disowned, or put into the dark as dangerous, unnecessary, or unhelpful. And so I know that I am the voice of the power of creative process in transformation and healing. And I'm also the voice for including my experience of integral, which has to include the body's experience. And this was my discussion with Denise from Brema yesterday over lunch about, our observation that at so many of these conferences on consciousness, there's a separation of the body into one category. It's like, go do your yoga in this room for an hour, then step into this room and sit and do your meditation for another 15 minutes, and then come and sit here and listen to words for another 6 hours. And Success 3.0 did a better job of integrating the arts and other sorts of multi-sensory experiences throughout the several days of the conference, and there was so much beauty in it that I think is so essential to waking us up to our true selves. That we are this very colorful, texturally rich tapestry of being, and we can't just try to fit that in a black and white box and say art happens over there and our business or our living happens over here. We just really can't afford to have the boxes anymore. And this is again where my own experience of coming into my own colorfulness and textural depth really informs my work. and is an unapologetically out loud way that I'm showing up, whether it's through how I dress or how I choose to combine things without regard for convention. That's where the rebellious bad Asian daughter in me really comes to the surface as relevant, because that audacity to bring in the apparent chaos or childlike lack of coherence is really valuable, because we need to come back to that purity of the child's curiosity and gaze and way of attending to the world, to become more appreciative of everything and to disengage from our deep attachment to these very orderly, quote-unquote, adult ways of, quote-unquote, solving, quote-unquote, problems. So this innocence that I bring through my own experience of having lost it and stepped into the ultimate adult authority role of, the violin teacher on high heels, the one I looked up to, and then kind of letting go of that and falling into the realm of play the wrong note, and oh my God, what is that? What happens? And just see the beauty that emerges from that. And I'm just right now looking at this collage of photos from my last year or so, and it's a beautiful collage of experiences and colors and textures and nature and discoveries and awakenings and people that came from that awakening. And just excited to share the story and bring my vision into an audience that cares about my story and how it might contribute to their experience. So that's today. I don't know what the radical thought in there was, but I'm committing to showing, not only through images but through more of these narrations, the evolution of my thinking in the areas of healing, transformation, and creativity.